Don't forget to like and hit subscribe. Last episode, we introduced you to Sam Altman.
Right.
And we thought this would be a good time to throw this at you.
Okay.
From an ex-employee at OpenAI.
Oh, wow.
Buckle up, grasshoppers. It's going to hit hard.
So we're going deep
Yeah.
into some predictions about the future of AI superintelligence and how it could totally shift like global power.
Yeah.
Our guide for this journey is Leopold Aschenbrenner,
Okay.
a former OpenAI insider
Okay.
turned investor who has some pretty alarming thoughts about where things are headed, particularly for nations like the US and China.
Okay, so let's jump right in.
Yeah.
This Aschenbrenner guy, he uses this term trillion-dollar cluster.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of like straight out of like a sci-fi movie.
Right.
Can you break that down for us? What's he actually talking about?
You're not far off with the sci-fi comparison.
Okay.
A trillion-dollar cluster is basically a massive data center.
Okay.
The kind that would need like enormous amounts of energy dedicated to developing ever more sophisticated AI. Think of it like building like a giant brain, but instead of neurons, it's powered by tons and tons of data.
And this isn't just some theoretical idea, right?
Yeah.
He actually sees this happening based on what's going on in the industry right now.
Right, look at NVIDIA, for example.
Okay.
Their data center revenue has exploded in just a year, going from a few $1 billion a quarter to a staggering $25 billion, and it's still climbing.
Wow.
This shows you the sheer scale of investment pouring into AI infrastructure. We're talking about a technological arms race unlike anything we've seen before.
So what does all this mean for AI capabilities? Are we talking about AI becoming smarter than humans in the next few years?
Aschenbrenner predicts that by 2025 or 2026, AI models will be exceeding the intelligence of the average college graduate.
Right.
But it's not just about acing exams.
Okay.
He envisions AI evolving from simple chatbots into what he calls drop-in remote workers.
Oh, wow.
Imagine AI that can handle complex tasks just like a human colleague, but working remotely.
Drop-in remote workers. That's a pretty wild concept. What kind of impact could that have on jobs and the economy as a whole?
Well, that's where things get really interesting and potentially concerning.
Yeah.
Aschenbrenner acknowledges that as AI becomes more capable, there's a real potential for rapid job displacement.
Right.
Integrating AI into existing workflows might be tricky initially.
Okay.
But he believes that as AI becomes more agent-like, more like a coworker,
Okay.
it'll actually become easier to integrate.
Easier maybe, but not necessarily painless, right?
Right.
We're talking about potential economic and societal upheaval here,
Right.
and a lot of uncertainty about what the future holds.
Precisely. This is not just about efficiency and automation.
Yeah.
It's about who controls this powerful technology and how it's used. Aschenbrenner is particularly concerned about China's AI ambitions.
Okay.
He believes a superintelligence race is already underway between nations.
A superintelligence race?
Yeah.
That sounds like something out of a Cold War thriller, but with AI instead of nukes?
It might sound like science fiction, but the implications are very real. Aschenbrenner argues that AI development is becoming crucial to national power because it has the potential to revolutionize every sector, from military technology to scientific research.
So it's not just about who has the biggest bombs anymore.
Exactly.
But who has the smartest AI.
Right.
And Aschenbrenner seems pretty worried about China taking the lead.
He believes that even a few years of lead in AI development could give a nation a decisive strategic advantage similar to the U.S. advantage in the first Gulf War.
Wow.
And he's especially worried about China's history of acquiring technology through less than legitimate means.
Oh.
He believes they could easily steal AI technology and rapidly outpace U.S. development.
So we're talking about potential AI espionage. This is getting pretty intense.
It is, and Aschenbrenner's concerns go beyond just China.
Okay.
He's also skeptical about the idea of building these AI clusters in the Middle East, which some have proposed.
Interesting.
He sees it as a huge security risk, potentially handing over control of this crucial technology to authoritarian regimes.
Okay, so building these massive AI clusters in the Middle East is a bad idea, according to Aschenbrenner.
Right.
But where should they be built then?
Right.
And how does the U.S. stay ahead in this AI arms race?
Aschenbrenner believes the U.S. should prioritize building clusters domestically, even if it means relying on natural gas or investing heavily in green energy mega projects to power them.
Okay.
He sees it as a national security imperative to ensure this powerful technology remains under the control of democratic institutions.
So kind of like a Manhattan Project for AI.
Exactly.
But hopefully with fewer mushroom clouds.
Right. The stakes are arguably just as high.
Wow.
He frames this as a system competition between democracies and autocracies,
Huh.
a battle over who will shape the future of AI.
Okay.
He believes the U.S. can win this competition, but it will require overcoming bureaucratic hurdles,
Right.
streamlining processes for energy infrastructure,
Hmm.
and learning from past examples of industrial mobilization like the U.S. effort during World War II.
So it's not just a race against other nations, but
Right.
also a race against our own bureaucracy,
In a way.
and maybe even a race against time itself.
Possibly.
The key takeaway here is that the world is largely unaware of how rapidly AI is developing and how much potential it has to reshape the global landscape.
Yeah, a lot of people are really sleepwalking into the future here.
Kind of like the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, where many underestimated the speed and impact of an exponential trend. I remember thinking, this will blow over in a few weeks, and then boom, the world changed seemingly overnight.
That's a really good analogy.
Yeah,
And just like with the pandemic, our response or lack thereof in these early stages could have far-reaching consequences.
right.
We need to act decisively and strategically if we want to harness the power of AI for good and avoid the potential pitfalls.
This brings up another point Aschenbrenner makes.
Yeah.
Secrecy.
Hmm.
He seems to believe that keeping key AI breakthroughs under wraps could be crucial for the U.S. to maintain its lead, maybe even more important than raw computing power.
He uses a fascinating historical example to illustrate this point.
Oh.
Leo Szilard, the physicist, who successfully lobbied to prevent the publication of research that could have aided the Nazi atomic bomb project during World War II.
Wow.
It's a chilling reminder of how scientific breakthroughs can have unintended consequences, especially when national security is at stake.
And with AI, the potential consequences are arguably even greater.
Absolutely.
He's particularly worried about an accelerated AI arms race, which could lead to global instability and the proliferation of AI-powered weapons of mass destruction,
Right.
making even nuclear weapons seem like child's play in comparison.
Exactly. The potential dangers of AI are less tangible, less immediate than, say, a nuclear bomb,
Right.
but they could be far more pervasive and difficult to control.
Yeah, it's like trying to fight a ghost.
That's a great way to put it.
You know, it's there, but you can't quite grasp it.
And that's why Aschenbrenner's call for what he calls a buffer,
Okay.
a period of slowed development to prioritize safety and alignment research, is so crucial.
Okay, so we're talking about hitting the pause button on the AI arms race, at least temporarily,
Yeah.
to make sure we're not creating a monster we can't control.
Yeah.
This is some serious stuff.
Grasshoppers. We'll dive deeper into what this buffer would look like and what it means for the future of humanity in part 2 of our deep dive.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, see you then.
Sounds good.
Picking up where we left off, this idea of a buffer to focus on AI safety and alignment is central to Aschenbrenner's argument. He believes slowing down development would give researchers the time they need to tackle the enormous ethical and technical challenges posed by superintelligence.
It makes sense, right? I mean, rushing headlong into developing ever more powerful AI without thinking about the risks is like building a rocket ship with no safety protocols.
That's a great analogy, and the stakes are arguably much higher with AI. We're talking about a technology that could potentially surpass human intelligence in almost every domain. Ensuring that such a technology is aligned with human values isn't just a technical problem, it's a philosophical one.
So how do we even begin to define human values in a way that can be translated into code? That seems like a pretty tall order.
That's the million-dollar question. Literally and figuratively, it's something philosophers and ethicists have been grappling with for centuries. But now, with the prospect of superintelligence on the horizon, these questions are no longer just theoretical. They have real-world implications that could affect all of us.
Yeah, I'm starting to see why Aschenbrenner is so concerned. We're not just talking about a new gadget here. We're talking about a fundamental shift in our relationship with technology. AI could become more than just a tool. It could become an autonomous agent with its own goals and motivations.
And those goals and motivations might not align with our own, especially if we're not careful. Aschenbrenner argues that the current approach to AI development, which is largely driven by commercial interests and national rivalries, just isn't enough to address these existential risks.
So he's basically saying we need to hit the pause button on the AI arms race and have a serious conversation about where we're going and how to get there safely. Easier said than done, I imagine.
It's a huge challenge, no doubt, and it's a conversation that needs to involve not just AI researchers and policymakers, but also ethicists, philosophers, and the public at large. The future of AI is too important to be left in the hands of a few tech companies and government agencies.
It's interesting that he draws parallels between what's happening now with AI and the early days of nuclear weapons research. There's that same sense of urgency and that potential for both incredible progress and utter catastrophe.
It's a sobering analogy. The development of nuclear weapons ushered in a new era of geopolitical instability and existential threats. AI has the potential to do the same, but on an even grander scale.
But there's a key difference too, right?
Yeah.
With nuclear weapons, the threat was pretty clear, mutual assured destruction. With AI, the threats are more complex and harder to define. We're talking about things like economic disruption, social upheaval, and the possibility of AI systems making decisions that could have unforeseen and unintended consequences.
Exactly. The dangers of AI are less tangible, less immediate than something like a nuclear explosion. But they could be far more pervasive and insidious, and that makes them even more challenging to grapple with.
It's like trying to fight a ghost, like you said,
Yeah.
before you know it's there, but you
So,
can't quite pin it down.
and that's why Aschenbrenner's call for a buffer is so important. It's not about stopping AI research altogether. It's about creating the space for careful consideration and ethical reflection. We need to develop frameworks for governing AI, for ensuring it's developed and deployed responsibly.
So does he offer any concrete suggestions for how to actually do that? It all sounds a bit abstract.
He does. He emphasizes the need for international cooperation and dialogue. He argues that the development of superintelligence is a global challenge that demands a global response. No single nation, no matter how powerful, can solve this problem alone. We need to work together, share knowledge, and establish common ground on how to manage this incredibly powerful technology.
So we're talking about something like an AI non-proliferation treaty, similar to what we have for nuclear weapons.
That's one possibility. He also suggests setting up independent organizations tasked with monitoring AI development and making sure it's being done ethically.
It sounds like we're going to need a whole new set of institutions and regulations to deal with the rise of superintelligence, a whole new playbook for the 21st century and beyond.
And a whole new way of thinking about our relationship with technology. We're used to thinking of technology as a tool that we control, but with AI, we're creating something that has the potential to control us, or at least to exert a profound influence on our lives in ways we can't even fully anticipate.
It's a humbling thought. We're not just creating a new technology. We're creating a new form of intelligence, one that could potentially surpass our own intelligence. It's a bit mind-blowing when you really stop and think about it.
It is, and that's why the stakes are so high. The decisions we make today about how we develop and govern AI will have repercussions for generations to come. They could determine the fate of humanity itself.
So it really boils down to this, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do we want to be passengers on this AI roller coaster, or do we want to try to, steer it in a direction that benefits humanity?
That's the question at the heart of it all, and there are no easy answers. There's no blueprint for navigating the AI revolution. But Aschenbrenner's insights offer a valuable starting point for this crucial conversation. He's urging us to think deeply about the implications of what we're creating and to act with both boldness and caution.
One of the most striking things about his analysis is the sense of urgency he conveys. He really seems to believe that this transition to superintelligence is happening much faster than most people realize.
And he's not alone in that assessment. Many AI experts believe we're on the cusp of a technological singularity,
Oh, wow.
a point where AI surpasses human intelligence and triggers a cascade of rapid and unpredictable changes.
Yeah.
It's like we're approaching a technological event horizon beyond which the future becomes difficult to predict, even for the experts.
It's a bit like standing at the edge of a precipice,
Right.
looking out at a vast and uncharted landscape, exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Exactly, and we have a choice to make. Do we step back from the edge and try to map out the terrain before venturing into the unknown, or do we charge ahead blindly fueled by technological hubris and a desire for progress at any cost?
I know which option I prefer. A little caution seems wise when we're talking about something as potentially transformative as superintelligence.
Aschenbrenner's argument for a buffer is essentially a plea for that kind of caution. He's urging us to slow down, take a deep breath, and really consider the long-term consequences of our actions before we unleash a force that we may not be able to control.
It's a message that resonates, especially considering all the other challenges we're facing in the world today, like climate change and political instability.
Yeah.
It feels like we're at a pivotal moment in history.
The AI revolution isn't happening in a vacuum. It's intertwined with all these other complex issues, and if we're not careful, it could exacerbate them, leading to a future that's less stable, less equitable, and less hospitable to human flourishing.
It can feel overwhelming to think about all of this, this convergence of powerful technologies, global rivalries, and existential risks.
Mm.
It's a lot to process.
It is, but we can't afford to bury our heads in the sand. We need to engage with these challenges head on with intellectual rigor, ethical awareness, and a deep sense of responsibility for the future.
The good news is that Aschenbrenner's perspective, while sobering, is ultimately a hopeful one.
Mm.
He believes we have the capacity to navigate these challenges and create a future where AI benefits all of humanity, not just a select few.
The key is to act now while we still have time to shape the course of this technological revolution. We need to be proactive, not reactive.
So what does this all mean for you, our dear Grasshopper listeners? What role can individuals play in shaping the future of AI and navigating its geopolitical impact?
That's a great question. While it might seem like the development of superintelligence is something that's happening in these elite tech labs and government agencies, it's ultimately a product of human choices and actions. We all have a role to play in shaping the future.
We may not all be AI researchers or policymakers, but we are all citizens of this world, and we all have a stake in the future of AI.
Absolutely. We can educate ourselves about the potential benefits and risks of AI. We can engage in conversations about the ethical implications of this technology. We can demand that our elected officials prioritize AI safety and alignment research. And we can support organizations that are working to promote responsible AI development.
It's a call to action for all of us. The future of AI isn't something that will just happen to us. It's something we will create collectively through our choices, our actions, and our engagement.
And the time to start shaping that future is now.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into Leopold Aschenbrenner's predictions, and it's clear there's much more to explore. But hopefully we've given you some food for thought, some insights to chew on, and maybe even a little inspiration to get involved in this crucial conversation about the future of AI. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends thanks.